Victoria Moran, what are you working on right now?
Oh, bless you. I actually just turned in my 11th book at 11:38, 2 days ago. I'm so excited about this book. It's called Main Street Vegan. Everything you need to know to eat healthfully and live compassionately in the real world. And why this is so important to me is I am a Main Street vegan. I come from Kansas City, Missouri, grew up 2 blocks off Main Street, raised my daughter in Kansas City and Illinois, and places where, at least at that time, being vegan was odd. And for a lot of people, it's still odd. And as a Main Street vegan, I want to say, you know what? This is for anybody who wants it, anybody who wants the tremendous benefits, and they're out there.
Why did you become vegan?
You know, I first started on this path probably at 13. I learned about vegans when I was a little tiny kid. I came in from school, and I learned about the 4 food groups in those days. Half the stuff we were supposed to eat came from animals. And my grandmother, who was quite the curmudgeon, said, "Humph, there are some people who never eat any meat at all, and they're called vegetarians. And I could take you to a restaurant and get you a hamburger made out of peanuts, and you would think you were eating meat." And I remember thinking, wow, there is so much that I don't know. And this always stayed with me, and we were animal people, particularly my grandmother who lived with us and was my primary influence. I tried to become vegetarian at 13, and I managed to live for 3 months on fruit cocktail and cottage cheese, and then I just plumb got hungry, went back to eating meat. And later, at 18, was when it really started to change. I had moved to London. There were vegetarians there. There were even vegans there, although at that time vegan just seemed very extreme to me. But I did get rid of land animals, eating land animals in London. And then when I came back to the States at 19, I let go of the fish. I took it back later, and then I let it go again and evolved, ultimately becoming vegan. And in fact, while we're dealing in ancient history, I believe I wrote the first full-length book on veganism ever published. It was actually a college thesis, Compassion, the Ultimate Ethic. It was published in 1985. It sold a few copies. You can imagine how many people were interested in being vegan in 1985. And after it had gone out of print with the publisher, the American Vegan Society resurrected it, and they still sell it, which is kind of embarrassing when you think that some paper you wrote in college is still out there in the world. But my interest goes way back, and I'm so excited that there are people like you and the doctors, Dr. Esselstyn and Dr. Campbell, Bill Clinton. I mean, it is so thrilling that animal-free, whole foods eating is where it is today, and just think of where it's going to be 10 years from now.
I'm curious as to how you answer somebody who says to you, "Oh, I would like to eat that way, but I don't know what to do. I don't know how to start."
Right. I think that it is an acultural choice. It's sort of like people think it's like becoming Amish or something. It's like, oh my goodness, I have to change my whole life. And especially if you get into the entire realm of the vegan lifestyle. You know, there are a lot of people who are simply interested in their health, their cholesterol level, hedging their bets against cancer, hedging their bets against Alzheimer's, and so they just want to eat a whole foods animal-free diet. But those of us who also have an interest in the animal rights part of the thing, we don't want to be wearing leather if we can help it. We don't want to be wearing fur. We don't even want to be wearing wool as we get further down the line with this thing. And if you hit people with all that all at once, they can just crumble. It's
Right.
just, it's too much, it's too much. But what we do is start a day at a time. And in my book, in Main Street Vegan, I offer some different ways that people can start. And one of those is the 1 day at a time plan. I mean, this is how the alcoholics stop drinking in AA. It's 1 day at a time. All you have to do is eat plant-based until you go to bed tonight. You're a total success. You have succeeded at being vegan today, and then that's renewable the next day. Another plan is the 1 thing at a time. You know, some people are just better. A lot of people get rid of red meat first. That's great. If you've done that, good for you. If I were doing it today and taking that route, I'd cut out chicken first. just because a cow is a great big animal and one death feeds a lot more people, a chicken is little. A lot more of them have to die to make nuggets. But it doesn't matter what you stop with. Somebody told me once, in the whole realm of conscious living, if this touches you anywhere, this touches you everywhere. So just get started and know yourself. You know, we all make change in different ways. Some people can say, oh, okay, I see now what's going on with my arteries, I see what's going on with the animals, I see the global warming, I'm done with all of it, and they're fine. But a lot of us, you know, we can't quite do it that way, and we need to take another path. But however you do it is just a great way to go. Just get started where you are.
I find that people like to know what I eat for breakfast because they think, well, if I'm going to start, I start my day with breakfast.
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody?
Well, I eat differently breakfast time in the summer and the winter, but what I do all year round, because I am kind of a health nut, I would rather be a health nut than a sick something else. So I do, on my best days, I can't say I do this 365 days a year, but my intention every day and what I do when I'm feeling good about myself and I've got energy and I'm the Victoria Moran that I want to be, is I get up and I make fresh juice. I make a green juice, depends on what kind of veggies I have in the kitchen, but my favorite one is celery, apple, kale, and lemon. And so often people go, yeah, you are a health nut. But the truth is, it is so yummy. It tastes like lemonade. If you didn't see that it was green, you wouldn't know it was green. So I do that first thing, and that's like an infusion of vitality and youthfulness. And then when I get back from the gym, in the summertime, I'll make a smoothie. A lovely, thick, frozen smoothie with banana, frozen or fresh, frozen berries, because we know the berries have all those wonderful phytochemicals that keep us young and healthy and disease-free. And I'll put in some kind of nutrient powder, maybe some Vega by our lovely vegan triathlete Brendan Brazier, little blackstrap molasses full of calcium, full of iron, and just whiz that up and have a lovely smoothie. In the wintertime, when I look out my window and I see snowdrifts, then I'm not as attracted to a frozen smoothie. And then I'll have very often what I call an oatmeal parfait, where I'll make oatmeal, and I don't go as far as the instant little packages, but I also don't spend 30 minutes making steel cut oats. I do one of those 1 minute or 5 minute kind that you cook in the pot. And then I load that oatmeal with all sorts of wonderful other things. I will steam some almond milk or possibly some coconut milk. I'll put on walnuts, ground flax for the ALA, omega-3, blueberries. Blueberries are supposed to keep your brain working really well till you're 106, and since I'm going to live to be 106 because of the way I eat, I need to keep the brain going, and other kinds of fresh fruit, and that gives me so much vitality. And also, both of these breakfasts, whether I do the smoothie or the oatmeal, they carry me over till lunchtime. And I don't eat between meals. I like to give the food time to digest, and I also have a history of overeating and overweight. I'm maintaining a 60-pound weight loss for going on 30 years, ever since I've been a vegan. And for somebody like me that has that kind of history with food, I don't want to be messing with food all day long. So I eat when it's time to eat, and I live when it's time to live, and it is one great life.
I was wondering how you juice, because some people don't go to the extent of having a juicer that juices green.
Yes.
Do you have that for your juice, or do you use a blender?
I have a Breville juicer, Breville, and I actually say in my book, I do not work for these people. They don't pay me, but they ought to, because I tell everybody. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of great juicers out there. The reason I like this one is that it is on the lower end of mid-priced, but it's not one of the super cheap ones, so it does handle greens, and the greens are the most nutritious things that we're going to juice. It also has a big feeder tube so that you can put a whole apple or a really fat carrot in there, and that just cuts down on the labor, and it's easy to clean. You can get juicers online, you can get them on eBay, you can get them at garage sales, because people get tired of cleaning them. But if you have one that cleans up really easy, or that you can just throw in the dishwasher, then chances are you're going to do this. And I know we need fiber. Our diet is very deficient in fiber, but not if you're vegan. If you're a vegan, you're going to be eating all the beans and the whole grains and the vegetables that have plenty of fiber, so you can afford once or twice a day to get those pure nutrients in the form where the nutritive matter has been separated from the fiber by the machine, so your body doesn't have to do it. And that means you get tons and tons of energy. It's like getting paid for not going to work.
The question that a new person has is, where do you get your protein? Where do you get your calcium?
Right.
How do you handle that question?
Well, very gently and kindly, because as vegans we are asked this so often that sometimes it's hard to not want to say, you just get it everywhere, get over it, ask me another question. But the truth is, if I were entering this today, those would be my first two questions as well. So we do get protein everywhere. It's in everything that grows up out of the ground. The only way that in a Western country you can be protein deficient would be to become anorexic, to become a severe alcoholic and drink all your meals, to eat only junk food. I mean, if you live on Twizzlers and Oreo, you will probably be protein deficient, and you'll be deficient in everything else. Or if you eat only juicy fruit. Now, fruit does have protein, but it often has less than 5% of protein by calories, and this is what we need. We need at least 5% of protein by calories. So if you're not eating all fruit or all junk food or starving to death, you're good with protein. You don't have to worry about it. But to even tell somebody that, even with a lot of scientific literature to back it up, which is in my book, I'm sure it's in your book, it's still hard for people because this is a culture in which we feel you can't have too much. Protein is almost like love and happiness. You can't have too much. But guess what? You can have too much. Most of us do get too much. Even vegans and vegetarians get more than we need. But when you get excess plant protein, it won't hurt you the way it would if you were getting excess animal protein. Mm-hmm. So just eat. Enjoy your life. You don't have to mix stuff up. You don't have to mix grains and beans at a particular meal. Just have some grains, have some beans, have some vegetables. One of the things that surprises people is how much protein is in leafy greens. Even that juice that I have in the morning gives me a good shot of protein. In fact, I was doing a juice cleanse a few weeks ago, and I was ordering juice in these little bottles, and they put in the nutritional information on each bottle. And I realized that if the 6 bottles of juice that I was having every day on this cleanse, when I was theoretically fasting, if all the juices were green, they would give me 36 grams of protein in a day. For a woman my size, according to the World Health Organization, that is more protein than I would need even doing something called a fast. So protein is not a problem. Calcium, same thing. The leafy greens are absolutely terrific sources of calcium. We have other almonds, sesame seeds, blackstrap molasses, all great sources of calcium. Calcium is not that hard to get if you eat whole foods. Enjoy your life. Enjoy having strong bones. The other week, a couple of weeks ago, I evidently insulted someone by accident when I was trying to put my umbrella up on the street, and this young man was just mad at me, and he just gave me a big old shove and knocked me down on the sidewalk. And after I got over being upset and hurt and frightened, I thought, this is like a free bone density test. My bones are good, and they are. When I had a bone density test last, the nurse said, oh, your bones are incredible. You must drink a lot of milk. And I said, oh boy, if we could have a talk.
Because milk is part of the problem.
It is part of the problem. The excess protein causes calcium to be leached from the bones. And what surprises people so much is when they learn that the countries with the highest dairy consumption have the highest level of osteoporosis. That seems like such an oxymoron, but it's been in the scientific literature for years, and it's interesting that it's not kind of general. It is absolutely correlative that you have more milk, you have more osteoporosis, and the country that drinks a little bit less milk has a little bit less osteoporosis. It's not the answer for strong bones. And bone health is really indicative of your whole state of health. Obviously, you need vitamin D. If you don't go out in the sun, obviously I don't, you've got to get your vitamin D in supplementary form. You also need plenty of vitamin C. You need vitamin K, which comes from vegetables. And you need to be doing weight-bearing exercise. Then you'll have strong bones, and you won't have one of those ugly milk mustaches.
That's for sure. What is your hope for the future?
Oh, I am so excited. Honestly, Linda, I did not believe that I would see the day that this way of eating was getting the kind of attention and the kind of press that it is getting. What obviously I would love to see a vegan world. I would love to see a world in which there was plenty for everybody to eat because we were using the land and resources properly. A world in which we were cooperating with Mother Earth so she doesn't have to warm up and have all of these awful climate catastrophes that we're seeing. I would like to see a world in which people can live to their genetic potential without having to worry about obesity, diabetes, Alzheimer's, heart disease, strokes, all of these things that not only create so much suffering and loss for people, but also can bankrupt our country. This is really becoming a serious political issue. And finally, I would love to see, and oh gosh, I wish I could live to see, but even if I don't, I'll be looking from heaven, to see a world in which we come to understand that animal beings are beings. They're individual, they're self-aware, they're sentient, they can feel pain, they can also enjoy life. I would love to see my human brethren realize that we owe these brothers and sisters of ours respect, and certainly to follow the advice of the great Indian teacher Mahavira, who said to every creature, his own life is very dear. If I could look at a world from being here or from being off and wherever we go after this and see that that's what we've come to, I would be one happy person or one happy angel.
Thank you so very much for this.
Thank you, Linda. I hope the whole world reads your book.
And yours.
Thank
Main
you.
Street Vegan.
Thank you so much.